For about 8 months, I checked Bitcoin Twitter every day, sometimes multiple times a day. First thing in the morning, last thing at night, during lunch. Whenever I had a spare minute and my phone was in my hand. I told myself I was staying informed. I was not staying informed. I was doing something that was quietly making my thinking worse, my decisions worse, and my relationship with Bitcoin worse. And I did not notice until I stopped. I'm Sats. And this is what 8 months of daily Bitcoin social media actually did to me. Let me tell you what the habit looked like from the inside, because I think most people who are active in the Bitcoin space will recognize this. The early months felt genuinely useful. There were smart people sharing analysis, discussions about on-chain data and market structure, people I had never heard of making arguments I had not considered. I felt like I was learning, and in the beginning, I probably was. Then the patterns started to shift. The signal-to-noise ratio changed. The same arguments appeared in cycles. The same voices said the same things in response to the same price movements. Bullish on the way up, bearish on the way down. Certainty in every direction. None of it adding up to anything I could actually use. But I kept checking. Not because I was finding useful information. Because not checking felt uncomfortable. Because there was always something new to look at. Because the feed never ended and stopping felt like opting out of something important. That is not information consumption. That is a compulsion with a respectable label on it. Here's what I noticed it doing to my thinking over time. My time horizon shortened. This is the most damaging thing that happened. Bitcoin's value proposition is long-term. It is about what fixed supply and decentralized ownership mean over years and decades, not what the price did today or what some commentator said about it this morning. But constant exposure to daily commentary shortened the lens through which I was looking at everything. I started thinking in days and weeks. I started treating weekly price movements as meaningful signals. I started having opinions about things that should not have been my concern. My emotional baseline became unstable. When Bitcoin went up, I felt vindicated. When it went down, I felt anxious. Not because my position had changed, because the feed told me to feel those things. The commentary around price movements is not neutral. It's designed to be engaging. And engaging content in a financial context almost always means emotional content. Fear, urgency, excitement. None of those are useful inputs for long-term decisions. My confidence in my own reasoning eroded. This is the one I find hardest to describe, but I think it is the most important. I had done the work to understand Bitcoin. I had reasons for holding it that I believed. But constant exposure to people who disagreed, or who expressed certainty in the opposite direction, or who made arguments I could not immediately refute, made me less sure of things I should have been more sure of. The noise was louder than my own thinking. I stopped checking daily about a year ago. Not because I made a principled decision about social media use, because I went through a period when I was genuinely too busy to look, and by the time the busyness passed, I realized I had not missed anything that mattered. The price had moved. People had said things. Arguments had been made in both directions, and none of it had affected what Bitcoin was or why I held it. The blockchain had kept running. The supply had remained fixed. The things that actually mattered had not changed. What changed when I stopped was the quality of my own thinking. Without daily doses of other people's certainty, I had to return to my own reasoning. I had to sit with uncertainty rather than outsourcing it to someone else's confident take. That was uncomfortable at first, and then it was clarifying. I check Bitcoin social media occasionally now, maybe once a week, sometimes less. I am more selective about who I read and more skeptical about confident takes in either direction. I read for information and not for reassurance. And my decisions about what to hold and how to hold it are better for it. Here is what I think happens when you consume financial social media at high frequency. You are not learning. You are absorbing the emotional weather of a crowd. And the crowd's emotional weather is not the same as the underlying reality of what you own. The price of Bitcoin and the mood of Bitcoin Twitter are correlated in the short term. They are not the same thing. And if you are using one to tell you how to feel about the other, you are measuring the mood and mistaking it for information. This is the same thing I learned from the price checking habit. Different input, same mechanism. The feed is not keeping you informed. It is keeping you reactive. So, here's what to take away from this. 8 months of daily Bitcoin social media made my time horizon shorter, my emotional baseline less stable, and my confidence in my own reasoning weaker. None of those things made me a better Bitcoin holder. The feed is not neutral. It is designed to be engaging. Engaging financial content is almost always emotional content, and emotional content is not a useful input for long-term decisions. The crowd's emotional weather is not the same as the underlying reality of what you own. Read occasionally, read selectively, read for information rather than reassurance. And when you close the app, make sure your reasoning is still yours and not something you borrowed from whoever was loudest today. If you want to understand the price checking habit that works alongside this one and what that does to your decision making, the video on checking the Bitcoin price every hour covers exactly that. It is the same mechanism from a different angle. Watch that next. Stack smart. Stay curious. See you in the next stack.